In our last two episodes, we explored the rise of Julius Caesar. First, we saw how Caesar conquered Gaul, defeating mighty tribes like the Helvetii, the Nervii, and even the legendary Vercingetorix at the Siege of Alesia. His campaign stretched Rome's power to the Atlantic Ocean and made him the most celebrated general of his time. Then, we followed Caesar into civil war. When he crossed the Rubicon River in 49 BCE, he defied the Senate and declared war on Pompey the Great. Against overwhelming odds, he crushed his enemies at Pharsalus, pursued Pompey to Egypt, and returned victorious. Now, Caesar stands as the most powerful man in Rome. But power, as history has shown, always comes with enemies. Today, we tell the story of Caesar's final days, the conspiracies, the betrayal, and the assassination that shook the Roman world. After years of civil war, Caesar returned to Rome as the undisputed ruler. The Senate, weakened and fearful, granted him unheard-of honors. He was declared dictator perpetuo, dictator for life. But Caesar did not simply revel in victory. He began transforming Rome itself. His reforms were sweeping. He reorganized the calendar, replacing the chaotic Roman system with the Julian calendar, a system so precise that it survives in modified form today. He reduced crushing debt by enacting fairer repayment laws. He gave land to his loyal veterans, ensuring their support and stability for Rome. He granted citizenship to entire provinces, uniting Rome's diverse empire more closely than ever before. To the people, Caesar was generous, a leader who gave them land, food, and games. But to many senators, these reforms were deeply unsettling. They saw not a leader of the Republic, but a monarch in disguise. And Romans had sworn, centuries before, that they would never again bow to a king. One of the sharpest controversies of Caesar's rule came from the East. During the Civil War, Caesar had supported Cleopatra in her struggle for the throne of Egypt. Their alliance became personal, and Cleopatra bore Caesar a son, Caesarion. When Cleopatra later arrived in Rome, she lived not quietly, but in Caesar's own villa across the Tiber River. For conservative Romans, this was scandalous. Caesar was already married, and Cleopatra represented foreign luxury and ambition. Rumors spread that Caesar planned to recognize Caesarion as his heir and unite Rome with Egypt under a dynasty of his own. The whispers grew louder. Caesar did not just want to be Rome's ruler, he wanted to be its king. The Romans' hatred of kingship ran deep. Centuries earlier, they had expelled their kings and sworn an oath never to allow another. But Caesar's behavior blurred the line. At one public festival, Mark Antony attempted to crown Caesar. Though Caesar publicly refused, the message was clear. His supporters believed he deserved more than the title of dictator. Prophecies also haunted this time. A seer reportedly warned Caesar to beware the Ides of March. Caesar laughed, brushing off the warning. Yet ominous dreams, strange omens, and a growing sense of unease spread through the city. In the shadows of Rome, resistance gathered. A group of more than 60 senators conspired to kill Caesar. They called themselves the Liberators. At their core were two men. Cassius, a skilled and bitter man who hated Caesar's dominance. Brutus, Caesar's trusted ally, descended from the man who centuries earlier had expelled Rome's kings. Winning Brutus to their side was critical. If Brutus struck, they believed, the Roman people would see Caesar's death not as murder, but as a noble defense of liberty. The plan was set: they would kill Caesar during a Senate meeting, in full view of the Republic's guardians. March 15, 44 BCE dawned with unease. Caesar's wife, Calpurnia, woke terrified. She had dreamed of her husband's body bleeding in her arms. She begged him not to go to the Senate. At first, Caesar agreed. But one of the conspirators, Decimus Brutus, arrived and persuaded him otherwise. To stay home, Decimus argued, would appear weak and dishonorable. And so Caesar went. The Senate had gathered not in the Curia, which was under repair, but in the theater of Pompey. There, beneath the statue of his old rival, Caesar took his seat. Suddenly, senators crowded around him. Tullius Cimber grabbed Caesar's toga, pulling it down, Caesar shouted in protest, but then the first dagger struck. Another followed. Chaos erupted. Caesar fought to rise but was overwhelmed. As blade after blade pierced him, he turned and saw Brutus. Shocked, he uttered words that would echo through history, perhaps not meant to, Brute, as Shakespeare imagined, but something like, "You too, my child." When it was over, Caesar lay dead at the foot of Pompey's statue, his body pierced by more than 20 wounds. Rome's most powerful man was gone. The assassins believed they had saved the Republic. Instead, they had doomed it. The people of Rome did not cheer Caesar's death. They mourned. At his funeral, Mark Antony read Caesar's will, which left generous gifts to every Roman citizen. Antony displayed Caesar's wounds and lifted his blood-stained cloak. The crowd erupted in fury, rioting through the streets. The conspirators fled, hunted not as heroes, but as traitors. Though Caesar was gone, his influence only grew. His will named his great-nephew, Octavian, as his heir. Together with Mark Antony and Lepidus, Octavian formed the Second Triumvirate and pursued the assassins. At the Battle of Philippi, Brutus and Cassius were defeated. But Rome's peace was short-lived. Soon Octavian and Antony turned on each other, and after Antony's defeat at Actium, Octavian became Augustus, the first emperor of Rome. Caesar's name lived on as a title of power. Caesar became Kaiser in Germany and Tsar in Russia. His calendar guided Europe for over 1,000 years. And his example as both a statesman and conqueror shaped leaders from Charlemagne to Napoleon. Julius Caesar's rise was meteoric, his power unmatched, and his fall sudden and brutal. He ended the Roman Republic, and in doing so, created the foundation of the Roman Empire. The Ides of March may have ended Caesar's life, but his story never truly ended. His name became immortal, his vision changed history, and his legacy defined what it meant to rule. What do you think? Was Caesar a tyrant who destroyed liberty, or a visionary who transformed Rome for the better? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more epic journeys through history.